Hello, friends. Welcome to Real Life with Jenny. My name is Jenny Senaparatna. Grab your favorite drink, get yourself a snack. You know what? Today's episode needs two snacks. I will just be real with you. And we'll get started. Today I have toasted coconut almond black tea. It is one of my faves and it's super cheap. So just absolutely love that one. And I have peanut butter M&Ms and jelly beans. Yes, it is that kind of day. So let's get into it. So we in the state that I live in, we do save spring ahead daylight savings time. I'm not 100% sure I fully understand the concept other than I lose an hour of sleep. Now, that's normally not a big deal because I tend to skip those Sundays and I don't go with wherever Kevin is going on that day because my sleep is very precious to me. I am not a very fun person when I'm sleep deprived, and it's just not always a great plan. But we had a situation where one of my favorite churches and one of my daughter's best friends is at this church, so we were all going to go to it. And by the time I did the math, it was a full math situation, I realized that I would be up at like 5 in the morning. Now, some of you are like, I'm up at 5 in the morning all the time. Good for you. I'm super proud of you. Like, that's amazing. If my body goes to bed before midnight, I am shocked. It is not something that normally happens. So 5 in the morning seemed a little like, how is this going to work? Anyway, so we actually had a free hotel room. We get one free hotel room with this program that we're part of, and it's fabulous, and we use their hotel thing all the time. And so we decided to actually book a hotel in the town. The town wasn't far away. It's only like an hour and 20 minutes from home, but it was going to cut out an hour and 20 minutes of my morning. So I was like, let's do this, right? Instead of 5 a.m., I'm getting up at 6:30. I can do this 100%. So we book a hotel, and it was lovely because, first of all, it's free and it's one of my favorite hotel chains. And so we kind of, it's like those precious one free stays that I'm like, how are we going to use this? And we're always trying to figure out how to use it the best way. And I'm telling you, it was the best way. We got in, they upgraded us to a suite, and it was just fabulous. It was just one of those like, oh, this is wonderful. I mean, I've had some hotel stories the last few months, and it was just one of those beautiful days. And we got up, and it's got one of those gorgeous breakfasts. I don't talk about breakfast a whole lot at hotels anymore because they are really and sketchy, not sketch, I suppose. Jennifer Louise. Anyway, this is where we are this morning. Anyway, we had a beautiful breakfast, packed up all of our stuff, got it in the car, and we're driving the 7 minutes to church. It is a 7-minute drive. And I'm driving along the road, and all of a sudden I see a cop stop when he gets close to me. And I was like, well, that's weird. And I looked at my thing, and I'm at 47, and I'm like, okay, it's a 45, so I'm not sure why he stopped. And so he stopped, looked at, like, I'm not sure if we made eye contact, but I saw him, he saw me, I knew he saw me, and because there's no other cars around, right? And he does a U-E and starts following me. So I slowed down to 45 because I was like, actually, I think I slowed down to 40 because I'm like, why is he following me? This is really weird. He turns on his lights. Now, I would just like to be very clear. I was maybe 2 feet at this point from turning into the parking lot of the church. So I am directly outside of the church in a car with a cop with his lights on right behind me. Now, I don't know about you, but when you're speaking at a church, honestly, the last thing that you want is to be outside of the church with a cop and his flashing lights. Like, this is not necessarily your first impression that you want to make. You are not like, hi, I'm coming in, I'm a criminal. Like, you just don't want, like, it is just, I mean, the humiliation. And so and at that point, my husband was like, yeah, this was the 30. And I was like, It was a 30 and I was going 47. Like I had honestly had no clue. Should I have known? Most likely I should have. Like, but I didn't. I had no clue that it was that. I, I, I will go 5 miles over the speed limit, but I don't speed beyond that. I am very conservative, but I'm always that five out. I'm always five over. Anyway, which is why I was at 47. I was like, I'm going over, but not that much. And so the cop comes up and he's like, license. And I gave him my license and he's like, I need your insurance. And so I had Kevin pull that out of the glove compartment. And I gave that to him and he walks away and goes back to the car. And I'm sitting here watching cars pull into, like, because they're just driving right by, going into the parking lot of the church. And he said, do you realize I clocked you at 47? And I'm like, yeah, I know you clocked me at 47. He's like, I have it like on there, like you were going. And I'm like, I'm not arguing with you that I was going 47. And I'm like, and we're going right there. And he was like, why are you going there? And I'm like, well, we're the speakers this morning. And he just kind of looked at me like, you're the speakers, really? Like, and he's like, ma'am, this is a 30. And I'm like, I honestly, like, I had no idea. Like, I really didn't. And I owned up to my mistake. I was like, you're right. You 100% caught me. Like, I didn't know the rule. I was 17 over. Like, throw the book at me. Like, I didn't tell him to throw the book at me. Let's be real there. But he goes to the back and he's in his car. And all of a sudden, the tears start flowing. I did not cry in front of the cop, but the tears started flowing. And I will tell you 2 reasons. Number 1, I started adding up what the fine was going to be. I was like, 17 over the speed limit. Like, this is not going to be a $25 fine. Like, this is not going to be a nice little, this is going to be a hefty little guy, and I started crying because I was super embarrassed. I haven't been pulled over in at least 8 years. And, I mean, it's been a long time. I don't get pulled over very often. I think I've been pulled over 2 or 3 times before this in my entire driving career of 30 some years. And I just was humiliated. And I'm sitting in front of the church and I'm like, I just don't know what to do. Like, so I have tears flowing. The cop comes forward and I roll down my window and he was like, I just have to tell you something. He gave me back my license and he's like, you are really lucky that I'm the one that pulled you over. And I'm like, well, I'm good. I mean, I'm glad that you're the one that pulled me over. I'm like, what does this mean? And he was like, because I was in the car and God told me not to give you a ticket. And then the tears really started flowing. And I'm like, well, thank you so much. She's like, don't drive that fast. And I'm like, I will not. Now I know it's 30. And I will tell you, the rest of the day, I set my cruise at 30 miles an hour. Not 31, not 29, 30 miles an hour on that road. I just set the cruise and everybody was behind me really irritated. But I'm like, I am not getting caught again on the same day going over 30 miles an hour. And he started walking to the back. I rolled up my window. The 2 feet into the parking lot. And I just let the tears come. And as I've had some time to kind of process this humiliation is what I would call it. Because I had broke the rules. Like 100%. Whether I knew the rule was there or not, I had broken the rules. And it was so interesting to me that God showed me grace. Because the cop did too, like 100%. He did not need to let me go. I would definitely was breaking the rules. He did not need to give me a warning. That was not something he needed to do. And because I deserved, right? Like I deserved that ticket because I was going 17 over the speed limit, whether I knew it or not, I was. And I think it's so interesting because we lose the concept of Jesus dying on the cross for us and how much grace and love he has for us when we make mistakes. We get him up in heaven trying to, you see those cartoons about like gonna smite you and send down lightning and come after you whenever you make a mistake and be like, ha ha, I caught you. You get these images of God because sometimes when you're reading the Old Testament, you don't see his love and compassion for the people of Israel. The way that I really have seen in the last few months as I've been like contemplating and processing the people of Israel. And they messed up and they complained and they were a nightmare. And God still continued to send them manna and open waters where there was no water and bring honey out of a rock and still guided them with the fire and the cloud. He never walked away from them, even when they were a pain. And sometimes we think that God's walked away because we're a pain and that he doesn't want to hear everything that we have to say. Like, I tend to only bring the big things to God because I'm like, I don't want to bother you with these little things. I'll handle them. And yesterday, God was like, hey, Jen, I see you. I see that you messed up and I sent compassion and I sent grace and I took care of it. And I was like, wow, how big is that for my life? And it was just a tangible reminder of how much God's love can seep into our lives if we allow it and we can look for it. Because I asked the pastor, I asked a couple other people if anybody knew, because he gave me his card, and now I'm like, praying for you, Mr. Police Officer, like I have your name. And nobody knew who he was. They were like, he's a Christian. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it was the first time that he ever had heard from God. I have no idea. I'm just taking it as God was like, hey, don't give this woman a ticket. She's going to understand why. And I'm telling you, I understood why. I understood God's love and his grace for my life, and that he wants to be in every part of my life, not just the parts that I feel like I need him in, but every part. Because you know what? I was not in the car praying, Lord, take care of this. Lord, don't give me a ticket. I actually never even ran through my mind because I knew I had earned that ticket and I knew that that was what I deserved. And so I never even asked. I never even said, Lord, get me out of this. Like that didn't even cross my mind. And the Lord still stepped in and said, hey, Jen, I love you. I see you. And I know that you don't have the money for this ticket. And I took care of it for you. And I just wanted to remind you of that this morning, or this afternoon, or this evening, whenever you're listening to this, that you are loved by God so much that he sent his son on earth to die for your sins. And we lose sight of that. And we lose sight of his love and his mercy for our everyday problems, for our small, minute things. And God wants us to pour those out before him. And he wants to be part of every piece of our lives, just not the pieces that we cry out to him. He wants to be part of all of it. And he wants to show you love and compassion and grace in all those parts. And our God, the God that I get to serve and I get to follow, and it's just amazing to me, loves me and wants to be with me and loves me so much that he sent a police officer to teach me a very valuable lesson. And lesson number 1, always try to figure out what the speed limit is and go below it. And lesson number 2 is that God sees me no matter what's going on and how much I've screwed up and how much of a mess I am. And then I'm going, Lord, I did a podcast last week about not knowing what I'm doing with my life and feeling discouraged and wanting to give up. And you still saw me and said, you know what? You don't have to have it all together, Jenny. You don't have to have this amazing plan and go, here, God, now you can stamp and approve everything that I have going on. You can bring your mess to me and I will still love you. And I want you to know that you can bring your mess before the Lord right now and he will still love you. It could look like a complete disaster and he will still love you. And that is what I have to say this week. It is super simple. Just follow the speed limit, guys. Because that is not saying, I just want to make it very clear, I did not deserve to get off. And next time I get pulled over, which I'm praying is 10 years from now, if I ever get pulled over again, it will be because I made another mistake. And I do not deserve that grace and do not expect God to step in at that point. But I love that he did to show me that he loves me. Well, that's all I have for you this week. I hope that you can see the love and compassion of God in your own life this week, that you can look at some of those small things that he does to see his love, and that he's not out there trying to catch you in the wrong. That's not what he's trying to do. He is trying to love you even in the midst of your grumbling and complaining. Well, you can find me at Real Life with Jenny on Instagram, Facebook, and Be Real. You can support this podcast by going to buymeacoffee.com/Real Life with Jenny. Thank you so much to those who have already supported this ministry through that. You have no idea what a blessing it is when you buy me a coffee. Like, it is just, I feel seen, and it's really weird because you have this podcast, you send it out, you have no idea who listens to it. We have hit over 30,000 downloads in 76 different countries. Like, wow. But thank you so much for that support. I just really appreciate it. You can also find me at christconnection.cc/Jenny. All of my info is there. You can sign up for a service there if you'd like. Really excited as you go forward this week, and that you bring your mess before the Lord and you say, Lord, I know you love me and that you see me, and that as you are grumbling and complaining about your day, God's like, you know what? I'm still going to provide. I'm still going to step in because I love you. I'm not trying to catch you in the wrong. I love you. You all have a great week.